Hello, everyone. Hello, Jay and Branson. Welcome to the L1X Hackathon AMA series. How are you guys doing?
We are good.
You're doing great.
Thanks for
Yeah.
inviting us here. Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks
Thank
for
you for
having us. Yeah.
accepting the invite. I know it's late in the night for you guys. It's 11 p.m. in Singapore. So yeah, really appreciate you taking the time not only to apply for the hackathon, but also to be part of this AMA and volunteering to share your experience with the community. So before we get to further down the line, Jay and Branson, do you just want to give a brief introduction about yourself and about Genesis AI and what is it that you've been doing?
Yeah, sounds good. Maybe I'll go first. I'm
Mm.
Branson. So I've been in this industry since 2017. So I started my blockchain journey when I first bought actually I bought two Bitcoins back in 2017, and down the rabbit hole I went. And ever since then I've been in the industry. Um, did a couple of startups, launched an exchange in 2018, got licensed by MAS, which is the central bank in Singapore. And
Mhm.
ever since then, I've been doing a lot of blockchain consultancies on the side. Myself and Jay, we finally met. Actually, we knew each other for a long time, since 2017. We caught up again a few times, and we sort of hit it off. It was last year, and then we were talking about doing a project together, and that's how we went on this journey of starting this project called Inside Genesis. Yeah. Okay.
Sounds good.
Well, my name is Jay. I'm part of the start in Web3 journey since also 2017. That's some time ago. Done numerous projects in the past. Of course, all along doing the blockchain Web3 advisory. Also builds a community in the Association Blockchain Asia. I'm the vice president. So meet a lot of startup, do a lot of advising work, consulting works, supporting works, community works, KOL, numerous roles. Done many different roles in the Web3 industry, CEO, COO, COMO, different roles. Until we started our own project, Inside Genesis. I think it's very unique. That's why we wanted to handle ourselves. Maybe Branson can actually explain more on the Inside Genesis, what we are doing later. Thank you.
Sounds good. So Branson, do you want to
Yeah.
talk about
So
that?
maybe I'll share a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah. So Inside Genesis is a Web3 AI uh, data, AI powered data insights, right? And at the end of the day, what we want to do is to enable entities or users to be able to share and own their data. And
Mhm.
what I mean by that is that at the end of the day, you basically have a lot of data. So all of us have a lot of data. But the question is, how do we then, monetize some of this data and at the same time retain ownership as well as be on the deep supply of information. I mean, right? So based on all this data that we have, the question is, how do you make sense of it, right? So, and with our kind of technology, we're able to use three types of data. The first is your face, right? So everyone has a mobile phone. You can actually use the camera to scan your face. That's one. The second is from your voice, and the third is from your social digital footprint. So making use of all these three kinds of data, we can actually provide insights into the uh, specific things about this person. So it could be things like, is this person hardworking? Is this person suited for a certain job? Is this person under a lot of stress? So on and so forth. So from there, entities or companies who want to make use of this data can then purchase some of this data from entire gist of it. But I think more importantly, our technology is proven. In other words, uh, our parent company has been invested in by HSBC. So that
Mhm.
is again a testament to the technology itself being uh, you tested and, and widely used within the financial institution.
Right.
sector from FDA, used by insurance companies and approved or certified medical to speak. So I think all these things are sort of something that we are very proud of. But more importantly, there are 4 areas that potentially some of our data insights can be used. The first is in the area, the citizens may or may not have access to their identity. So here, some of the financial institutions are making use of their face, the voice, and some of the social digital footprint to actually come up with a credit score. And then from there, some of these users or consumers can actually get access to financial services sector. So by scanning your face, we're able to show you a very comprehensive report. Things like blood pressure, and so on and so forth. Right? There are tons of so-called biomarkers that you can actually glean off this data, and this is very useful, especially for telemedicine companies. Right? So when you do telemedicine, the doctor will definitely need a triage of some of your initial vital signs, your biomarkers. And this is where we are very strong, right? And third area is actually in the academic space. So if you're a student, 17, 18 years old, you have no idea what you want to go into, that's where you can actually, scan, use our technology, scan your face, and then from there we can actually show to you some of your inclination. So for example, let's say if you're conscientious, or if you're a person who likes to be
Right. Yeah.
who is very outgoing, then perhaps business administration or some are called to most of the companies out there, for all the MNCs or even SMEs, people is their main people, or hire the best people. The question is how do you looked after, but wealth or even stress. The question is how do you find out and weed it, nip it in the bud before it gets worse, right? And then that leads to attrition or dropout or resignations. So we have worked with a few companies, and the accuracy is up to 83%. In fact, in some cases, 93%. So the question is, how do we then, push this technology out to more of these companies or industries out there? So it's a long way of explaining of what we do, but I hope that gives you an idea of what we're doing. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Branson. That's very, very helpful. And first off, my apologies for getting your name wrong to the community. But at least I got part of it right. I was calling in Genesis AI versus Inside Genesis. So I guess like a question, Jay and Branson. So are you what stage is your product in? Are you at ideation stage, or is your product already built out?
So
We are
like I
in
explained
actually
earlier, I think sorry, yeah. Go ahead,
yeah.
yeah. Jay.
Yeah, continue. Yeah. Because the technology has been mature, used in the Web2 industry. We just put it to the Web3. So it's not ideal straight because it's been used in the Web2 for past 3 years. So currently we are in the MPV stage, putting up all the putting it the project on the chain, putting on chain. So we are this stage. Yes.
Got it. And which chain are you on right now? Are you all
Currently we have not selected a chain yet, but most likely will be a multi-chain.
got it? Okay, that's great. So I think that brings us right to the question. So, why L1X? How did you hear about how did you hear about us? What is it about L1X that sort of got you interested to participate in the hackathon?
Mm. For the hackathon, of course, like we wanted to try out, see whether we are using the chain, whether it's suitable for us, for both party, and we could also make use of the grant if we manage to win the hackathon to actually apply on our project to try it out.
Got it. And so of course, when you looked at L1X, of course, L1X is a chain in itself, and it has its interoperability component. So as you mentioned that you will be going multi-chain,
Yes.
was that something that was of interest to you? Is that one of the areas that attracted to you about L1X?
What do you think?
Yep. Yeah, so that's one of the key areas, right? Because interoperability is obviously very important for us. We want to make sure that you know, the accessibility to most users out there is you know, is right up there. And at the same time, I think we are also considering things like the databases, right? The question is, how do you store data? Because when we scan faces as well as voice analysis, I think there's tons of data out there. The question is,
Mhm.
how do we, you know, store this data? Of course,
How about this, Branson? I think we have some internet issues. So how about we all switch
understand
off our
that
videos?
L1X
Sorry, Branson and Jade, do you think it's okay if we switch off our video because it looks like Branson
multiple
has some
databases like
Wi-Fi.
RockDB, Postgres, and so on and so forth. That could be one area that we're looking at. Of course, the next question is, how do we keep them safe and you know, secure? So those are the things that we are looking at, as well as, you know.
Sorry, Branson. I think I think what I suggested, let's switch off a video because it looks like you've got some bandwidth issues. So let's switch off our videos and then that would help.
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. Okay. Oh, looks like we lost Branson.
You're coming. I
Yeah.
think it's Brett.
Yes, and I think once he comes back in, let's switch off our videos and let's see how it goes.
Sorry, I got disconnected. Can you
No
hear
worries.
me?
Yes, we can hear you. So yeah, we've got our videos off. Jade, maybe do you want to switch off your video as well, just so that we can conserve Okay, perfect.
Sure.
All right, yes, Branson. So I think yes, we lost you where you were talking a little bit about L1X and what attracted you to it. So if you don't mind, just talking about it again and repeating yourself on that, that would be
Sure.
great.
Sure. Yeah, so I think there are a few areas that we are interested in when we try to work with L1X. I think the first is interoperability.
Mhm.
As we have explained, I think we will go multi-chain. I think that's our strategy. And L1X being one of the chains out there that will support multi-chains, I think that's one key area. And the second area is obviously, you know, data storage. I think when you scan faces, use cameras, as well as the question is, where do we store them? And I understand that L1X supports multiple databases like Cassandra, Postgres, and RockDB. So those are so-called potential databases that we could be looking at. Of course, the other consideration is how secure we can keep them, because
Mhm.
at the end of the day, we want them to be sufficiently decentralized, and at the same time, you know, secure enough for the users to own this data. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Yes, that's very helpful. And I think that's a really good use case of L1X, where not only would you want to use L1X as your chain, but you would also want to use it for interoperability. So I guess like this brings me to my next question, Jay and Branson. Have you looked at other interoperability protocols out there? And if so, you don't have to talk about the ones that you looked at, but just out of curiosity, what is it that you found good about them? What is it that, if you've done any analysis, just to understand that? What about them is something that you feel is lacking, if you will, that you're still not zeroed in on an interoperability protocol and you're looking for something else?
Yeah. So I think I mean, most of the chains out there, it really depends, right? So if you're talking about EVMs, mostly rollups. But when you talk about brand new layer one solutions, I think most of them will essentially, as a form of solution, because natively the users themselves would not would not think of coming to the chain. But in order to make it interoperable, they will actually build bridges to the EVM rules. I think so. So that's the main solution that we have seen so far. Yeah.
Okay, got it. So I guess like the bridgeless interoperability part of L1X is something that you're keen on exploring.
Yes, potentially, yes.
Okay, that makes sense. And when you talk about like your applications and when you talk about sort of the target base, what is it that's like your ideal target base, if you will?
When you talk about target base, what exactly do you mean?
I mean, like, are you looking at institutions? Are you looking at retail?
Both.
So we basically work with both groups, but of course, institutions would have access to a lot more data, because they themselves would have their group of clientele, which they already have been working with for a long time. Uh, and then retail themselves, they can sort of put up so much in earlier, all this data, the face, the voice, for them to actually use as an extension to gain access to other Web3 services. So by using our services, I think what they can do is to control all this data within a single platform. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, yeah, that makes a lot more sense. So, what are some typical use cases that you're thinking about? Or what do you think would be some initial target use cases that you would want to go to market with, if you will?
So the main use case that we have sort of worked with is actually enabling uh, access to financial services. But in the Web3 space, I think the main use case would be products and services available to a DEX, for example, right? Extra services, because different people would have different appetite for risk, right? So the question is, are we able to then tailor some of these solutions to some of these audience, right? So if I know that this particular person, based on the face and the digital social footprint, that he's of a more risk averse kind of clientele, then can I offer him other solutions besides just a normal trading account, right? So that's from the exchange point of view. That could be sort of the low-hanging fruit that we're talking about.
Okay, that makes sense. And so if you were to just double click on that use case, Branson, what do you think is at a high level, like what would be your ideal go-to-market strategy, if you will?
So right now, I think our main strategy is to work with entities, right? Because at the end of the day, I think the businesses themselves would have a lot of data, right? It's not just um, data that is based on the consumer behavior, but it could be other things, right? For example, let's say if I'm working with a telco, for example, or let's say a telco, right? So they would have a lot of clients, and these clients are just mobile phone users. But the question is, can based on the so-called the time that they use some of these services, or the amount of data that they use on their plans, can can there be insights being processed or analyzed based on some of this data, and then from there, can the telcos or other even entities or corporates make use of some of this data to actually be more so-called granular in terms of offering more services, or helping the users to be more targeted in terms of understanding their own behavior, for example. Yeah.
Right. Okay, that is great. And do you already have some existing partnerships in place for this, or is that something that you would be actively working on?
Yeah, so the solution itself, we are currently being used by 22 financial institutions.
Mhm.
There are some telcos as well as government agencies in different countries using it. And I would say that what we want to do is to expand the reach beyond just the FIs and the telcos and the government agencies.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, that's and is this, when you look at the solution, is this something that you think you're primarily looking at the ASEAN region for it right now?
I think it depends on the data that we are refining or we're analyzing. I think so far, based on the types of services that we're offering, I think predominantly in countries, in developing countries, because they have a huge population, that's number one. And secondly, they have a lot more access to mobile phones or even some uh, services out there that they've been using, and they're more willing to share data and whatnot. So therefore, I think a lot more insights can be gleaned out of those data. And at the
Mhm.
same time, there's a lot more low-hanging fruits in terms of offering new services. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, that is, again, that makes sense. So so I guess like Branson and Jay, if you had to like talk a little bit about what your ideal journey would be over the next 2 months as you participate in this hackathon, what would it be? How would you like to sort of be supported during the hackathon? What do you expect at the end of it? And yeah.
Jay, you want to?
Yeah. The reason we participate the hackathon, also part of the reason is also we hope to have gaining through the hackathon, we can gain more traction to know more people knows about our project inside Genesis. So let people aware through your hackathon. And also we hope to also win the hackathon will help us the development work on the layer one chain. This is what we actually the objective what we want to achieve in this. And hopefully we can actually onboard using your chain to actually roll out our different AI solution on chain. This is what we wanted to hope to achieve at. Thanks.
That sounds good. And like, out of curiosity, Branson and Jay, have you looked at what's your target market and what could it be like? As in, what's your total addressable market? How many transactions you think we can get on the chain, and so on and so forth?
Mm.
So for the number of users, of course, we offhand, I think we want to target at least 100,000 offhand, right? So I think, of course, the more the merrier. Um, but I think most of the time, I think because all this data eventually, uh, depending on the chain that we work with, uh, again, pointing back to the fact that L1X work with 3 different databases. I think the question is, how do we store all this data?
Mm-hmm.
And when all this data is stored, then with the analysis that we can glean out of this data, then I would presume that there will be tons of transactions happening on chain, as well as the entities or even the corporates who want to make use of some of these insights. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Yep. That's great. So I guess like then a very open-ended question. While you go through the hackathon, how would you like to be supported from what's the support you would be looking at from us, both from L1X as an entity and the L1X community? Curious to see what your thoughts are on that.
So I think for me, I think overall, I think for L1X, well, first of all, obviously the technical implementation of how do we get our project on
Mhm.
this chain. And secondly, in terms of the ecosystem, right? Of course, the users, the community for L1X can, help to at least try some of the services that we have or our project at least, and get on board, you know, uh, at least, give it a try. Do the face scan, try the voice analysis, and see how amazing, how quickly you can get your a report actually in 40 seconds. Yeah. So those are the things that we are looking at.
Awesome. That sounds good. I think that's something which would be very interesting for the community, and I'm sure they would love to try this out with you and see where that takes them. All right. So I think this has been great. This is what I believe a community, they'll definitely get a lot of insights on the project through this. Is there anything else that Jay and Branson you would like to share with the community before we sign off?
I think thanks for having us. I think at the end of the day, we want to work with the community, and we're more than happy to have you, uh, L1X, as well as the L1X community to come and join us on this journey. Go and try out our app. And at the end of the day, let us know how it look at some of the feedback that you have. Yeah.
Perfect. And and I think like the community would definitely want to like learn more about the app and want to try it out. So I think like as we progress along this hackathon, we will definitely share more of that information with the community and do what we can to promote the adoption of the app and the usage of the app.
Oh, sounds good.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jay and Branson, for your time, and
Thank you.
working with you in the hackathon.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Ronnie.